In this tutorial, we're going to create the final rig to do the animation of the BattleBot. Now, when we left off in class, we had animated each of the components, the wings, the legs, and the propeller. We had put the final IK on the articulating arm that's at the top of the BattleBot. Now we're going to put them all together as one unit. I'm going to select everything but the BattleBot arm with the IK, so I'll move that out of the way, and I'll marquee select, and I'll hit Command G to group. I'll center the pivot, and in the channel box I'll name the group. I'm now going to click on the first bone in the string of bones for the BattleBot's articulating arm, and I'm going to drag it down into the group with the rest of the geometry. I'm going to hit 4 on the keyboard. Now I want to parent the animation group of the wing, propeller, and legs to the BattleBot arm, because when we start to use skeletons in Maya, the proprietary bone, which is the first one that we plant in a series of skeletal arms and legs, becomes the point at which the rest of the model will animate and respond to keyframes from. So I'm going to now select one element of the group of the model, hit the up arrow to gather in the rest of the components, and then shift select the main bone. I'm now going to hit P on the keyboard. So if I were to select any bone and hit the up arrow to gather in the rest of the skeleton, you'll notice the rest of the model is selected as well. And if you were to just kind of move on one of your axes, you'll see that the rest of the geometry now follows that main bone. Now that we have everything unified to be animated, we need to put a rigging circle so that we don't have to click on that bone each time we want to move our model, because if we're in our object mode with our textures, it's pretty hard to see and reach. So I'm going to go to my top view, and in my top view I'm going to hold down the space bar. I'm going to go to Create, NURBS, Primitives, and Circle, and I'll drag a circle that goes beyond the perimeter of the body of the satellite or the BattleBot. I'll now hit 4 on the keyboard. I'll select the main bone, and now the whole model is selected because we parented. I'll shift select the newly made NURBS ring, and once again I'll hit P to parent. And what that means now is that if I select that ring, I can now keyframe and animate my BattleBot to move in the viewport if I choose. Now there's one last thing we need to parent before we keyframe the articulating arm, and that's the IK handle. The IK handle is the brown series of lines that emanate from the IK point at the tip of the arm. I'll select any of those brown lines. You'll notice it's selected because you'll see the highlight of the IK arm on the model. I'll shift select the ring, and I'll hit P to parent. And we did that because if this moves through space, we need to make sure that the arm animation follows it. Next, we're going to keyframe the articulating arm. I'll put my playback head back at the beginning of the timeline, and I'll set the arm maybe back a bit as if it were about to launch or go out and attack. And I'm going to drag through Translate XYZ and right click and choose Key Selected. I'm going to go to frame 50, and I'll just randomly place the arm where I'd like it to be if it were in kind of an attack mode. So I'm kind of extending it out a bit as if there were an adversary in front. Now I want to make a loop of this just like we did with the legs and the propeller and the wings. I'm going to shift and drag through the first keyframe, and it will highlight the keyframe yellow, and there'll be a red area as well. I'm going to right click on the red, and I'm going to choose at the top of the pop-up menu copy. I'll go to frame 100. I'll right click, choose paste, and paste. And now I've got the first and last keyframe as duplicates. We can loop this as many times as we need in After Effects, and it will appear to be a seamless animation. I'm going to go to the graph editor, and if you don't see a graph editor on your shelf, you can go to Windows, Animation Editors, and the first choice you'll see is Graph Editor. And in the graph editor, you'll see a representation of the movement of your X, Y, Z, and axes. I'm going to drag through and essentially select Translate X, Y, Z, and then I'm going to go to Curves, Post Infinity, and Cycle. Now if I were to play my animation, it will appear to be a seamless loop with all the functions repeating one after the other for as many times as I may need once I get into After Effects.